This podcast was produced by OAR FM Dunedin with support from New Zealand On Air.
Welcome to My Business Stars, a podcast series featuring conversations with disabled business owners telling their business stories. Hosted by the Disability Business Network. Kia ora, I'm that blind woman, Julie Woods from the Disability Business Network, hosts of the My Business Stars. And on today's episode, we have a fan of My Business Stars. Very exciting to invite a fan onto the show. Her name is Wai Thant-Cyn, and she is joining us today. So kia ora, Wai.
Kia ora, Julie. How's it going?
It's going good. Where are you calling in from today?
I'm based in Hamilton.
Kiri roa.
Yes.
Yeah, nice.
It's a very cold day in Hamilton today.
Oh, well, I'm sure that's going to improve.
Yes.
Wai can be described as a property investor and an entrepreneur. She dabbles in lots of things, and I think possibly, Wai, a good place to start is tell me a little bit about yourself, because I know that you've got a fascinating backstory, but what would you like listeners to know about you?
My origin story, which can be interesting.
Yeah.
It's probably not something that you may have heard of, because I'm from a country called Burma. I was born in Myanmar, which is it is also known as Burma to some people. And I migrated to New Zealand in 93 in hopes of finding a cure for me, my parents. And they worked very hard to get us to New Zealand. And so, yeah, that's how we got to the land of the white cloud, I guess.
What were they trying to cure, Wai?
So I've got a disability called spinal muscular atrophy, just type 3. And they thought that, all disabilities can be cured by going to a Western country. And I wasn't properly diagnosed until I arrived in New Zealand. So my disability was very much misunderstood. So yes, my mom especially worked really hard to cure me of whatever was going on. She thought I was being lazy for not walking when I was little, and so that wasn't fun.
And how did coming to New Zealand change things for you, do you think, in terms of your impairment?
Yeah, so obviously in Burma there was zero support for people with disabilities. So arriving in New Zealand, the first thing that happened was getting a diagnosis. So that was really good to finally understand what was going on. And then, of course, getting a wheelchair and being able to move around was a huge relief, because back in Burma, I was being carried from place to place. And yeah, having a wheelchair was just the most coolest thing, because I was able to do wheelies and zoom around. So that was awesome. And of course, when I arrived in New Zealand, not long after, one of my lungs collapsed due to my scoliosis at the time. And so I had to have an emergency back surgery to correct my curvature in the spine. So that was a life-saving procedure in itself. So very grateful to be in New Zealand. Yeah.
Well, that's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so obviously you saw your wheelchair as aiding your mobility.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And it was great being able to, wheel around to somewhere that I, just getting from like one end of the room to the next without being carried. That was a freedom that I had never had before then. So yeah, that was great.
And what did you do with your newfound freedom?
Well, so when we arrived in New Zealand, the house that we were living in, we lived quite close to the local library. and I fell in love with books. And being able to zoom to the library in my wheelchair with my brother and sister, that was the greatest thing. And in books, I found inspiration to, um, set goals for my life, I think. And being born in poverty and being so poor, I was just sick of it. And I wanted to be successful. And I think reading books gave me a vision of how I wanted my future to look like. So yeah, so that was my first taste of freedom, being able to go to the library and read all the books and yeah, learn
All those
yeah,
things
all
that
those things.
Kiwis take for granted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah.
what do you think about the entrepreneurial aspect of
Mm,
different countries, especially when I've travelled and I see how entrepreneurial people, in particular in Asian countries, are. And I just think,
yeah,
wow, I don't know if you've got any thoughts about comparing,
yeah,
people from
yeah.
Myanmar and people from New Zealand. Do you think they are more entrepreneurial by nature?
I guess in countries in impoverished countries like Myanmar, people are always thinking of how to survive. So they're always thinking of what can I do to, put a roof over my head. So yes, they do have that entrepreneurial mindset. But also New Zealand provides far more opportunities for people to succeed. So seeing that, for me was a huge, it was just the greatest thing because in Burma, it was just so difficult just to even go to school, for someone, with a disability, just having to be carried because we lived on the third, like in an apartment building. I had to be carried down to get into my taxi and then from the taxi into my classroom. And education was just really difficult for people and people with disabilities. So arriving in New Zealand, it just opened up so many doors for me, especially. I was just so happy to be, yeah, to see that, that I can make something of myself in New Zealand. Because back in Burma, it's just, yes, basically survival. Just people are just constantly on survival mode,
Mm.
trying to get through. So yeah, so that's how I would compare New Zealand and third world countries like Myanmar is that I don't think people realize the opportunities they have, you know, um, or not, take it for granted, basically, because yeah, when you're in a third world country, there's just, very, very, very little opportunity to succeed.
Mm.
Yeah.
And you've come here, and how would you describe your success in terms of business, or
Mm,
what doors were opened for you in terms of business?
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think I went through, when I was a teenager, I went through a really dark period where I didn't think that, I could get ahead just because I was hoping that I'd be cured. But I was in and out of hospitals a lot, and I thought, okay, what can I do? It's just, I wasn't good at school. I was failing high school. The teachers were really harsh, to me at the time, and I just didn't see a way out. So I was very depressed as a teenager. And then I had my first pneumonia at the age of 14. And as a result, I almost died. And laying on that hospital bed, it was a wake-up call for me. Basically, I don't want to leave this world without making something of myself. So I made a promise to myself that day, I'm gonna make something of myself. So when I went back to school, my personality and my attitude and everything changed. And yeah, I worked really hard. And even though I did so poorly at high school, I wanted to get into uni. I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And it was so hard, you know. It's just an uphill battle at the time as well to just as someone in a wheelchair, it was just, you know, access to education, getting support. It was just so hard. And but I keep reminding myself that I wanted to succeed, you know, I wanted to get out of poverty. And I think what I learned was like my goal, my what I wanted out of life, it has to be enough to outweigh the discomfort of getting it. So it was very uncomfortable going to uni, because I went to AUT and it was very hilly in my wheelchair in the rain sometimes. Sometimes my taxi would forget to pick me up and I would just have to wait in the rain. It was so hard. Um, but I just kept going. I just kept going. Got myself a degree. And when I was 16, I read a book at that local library and by Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And since then, I wanted to purchase my first house. And that was my first goal. Um, I wanted to purchase my first house. I wanted to get into investment properties. So I graduated from uni and I started applying for jobs. And at the time, I mean, not a lot of, you know, getting funding to even get to my job was difficult. And now, you know, I've got Workbridge helping me with transportation, which is great. But at the time, I remember going to hundreds of interviews, just getting rejected, rejected. And rejection is hard, you know.
It sure is, but you
Uh,
kept going. You
yeah,
just got this
yeah,
tenacity to keep
yeah,
going
yeah.
and going.
Oh, it was hard, and I think I had so many rejections, I lost count. And in some interviews, because you know, I graduated in IT, which is a male-dominated industry. So, this little, you know, ethnic little girl rocking up to an interview, sometimes I just see, as soon as I step through, you know, I wheel through the door, I can just see, nah, it's not gonna, they're not gonna hire me. They've already got ideas, you know. But I just kept going. And eventually, out of sheer luck, um, I I got my first job and I that was all I needed. I knew that as soon as someone gave me a chance, I would be okay. And yeah, my first job basically propelled me to where I am today. So yeah, so I've been in the IT industry for 20 years now. I work full time in IT and it's been great. I purchased my first property when I was 24. I just saved. And then yeah, acquired more and more properties over the years. And yeah, so
Wow, that's pretty amazing. I think
yeah.
the reason we wanted to do this podcast way was to create a different picture of a business owner. And we
Mm,
often think of white men in suits, and we're trying to broaden that picture.
mm,
And I think, wow, you know, a person from Myanmar in a wheelchair, it's great that, you know, getting those pictures of disabled business owners out there. It's really important. You know, if you can't see it, you can't be it. That kind of thinking.
yeah, yeah, that's right. And
What does it mean
It's
to you now to have, what does it mean to you now to have acquired property and to be a property investor? What does it mean to your life?
so for me, it means independence. I now have the financial freedom to do whatever I want. I can quit my job tomorrow and I won't have to worry about money, right? So it means freedom. And I built this business, I guess, because one day I know that I won't be able to work full time. And I'm going to have to rely on my properties to look after me, right? So that's why I worked so hard to where I am now, just to give me that security in the future. And yeah, like you said, I have dabbled in entrepreneurial. I started my first business as a website designer when I was 27. Did that for a few years, and then did contracting for a few years. And then just recently I did skincare, my own skincare line. Um, so yeah, it's been fun. I'm always looking for new ideas to try. I do have, challenges that I like to take on as well, in the future. So yeah, I'm not done yet.
I can tell that.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
suggestions or advice would you have for our younger people in particular, in terms of saving? Because that seems to me to have been an
Mm,
important part of your success.
yeah. So yeah, being able to buy my first property, it it did require a lot of sacrifices. So I had to be very good at saving. I had to manage my finances well, um, to, build up that deposit, um, for my first home. And obviously, after you get your first home, that's the hardest part. And then you can use the equity to purchase more in the future. Yeah, saving and sacrifice, to, and it's not always like that. Say you want something, right? Like buying a car or going on holiday. It's a huge reward, and in order to get that reward, you need to have the discipline to work for it in terms of saving, in terms of being disciplined, in terms of giving up the little things that you may want, short term so that you can have the long term reward. That's what I would say, yeah. But
So
even my brother and sister, they don't listen to me. My own brother and sister, they struggle with saving. Um, so,
That's interesting because that was my next question: is what advantage do you think your impairment has? And I'm just thinking in relation to savings and property investing. What advantage do you think?
I think my disability gives me awareness about, my environment a lot more, and being patient. Um, my disability definitely teaches me about patience. So, just waiting, like buying your first house is, it takes a lot of, yeah, waiting, like being patient, and saving for that first deposit. So I would say that patience is a key thing, and also perseverance. Having a disability, you just got to keep going, and not give up, because even though your body, like my body, may be giving up on me at sometimes, if my mind, keeps going forward, it'll follow. My body will follow. So
As it has,
yeah,
yeah, as it has. It's
yeah.
wonderful. So, what's the dream?
So dream for me right now is to own my own business. Like purchase an existing business and take over. So basically, I'm looking into acquisitions of existing businesses. So I think that's the next area that I want to move into. So that's my next dream. And doing more philanthropy work. So I've joined up with CCS. I sit on the local committee, local advisory committee, and volunteer my time there. And I like to do more things like that. So yeah, so that's sort of my dream right now.
Wonderful. That's great. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's just amazing. Thank you for joining us. And that's just gone so quickly. I can't believe our time has come to an end. Yeah.
Yes.
If people want to make contact with you, Wai, how are they able to do that? What's the best way for them to contact you?
I'm on Facebook and Instagram, so yeah, they can look me up there. I'm hoping to write a book. Because you inspired me to write a book.
Yay.
So maybe, yeah. So one day I like to do that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, can we just give listeners your spelling? WAI.
Yes.
Space THANT.
Yes.
Space CYN.
-CYN.
-CYN on Facebook and Insta.
Yeah.
Insta. Lovely. Wai, thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much.
It's been awesome.
Thank you, Julie. You're an inspiration to me as well. So thank you.
Thank you. It's wonderful to have a fan come on and be interviewed. So anybody out there that thinks they might want to come on and have a go, it doesn't hurt, does it, Wai?
No, it's just good. Thank you for letting me share my story. And
it's wonderful to hear
it. It helps someone, do something awesome with your life. So,
all right, there's the challenge to you, our listeners. Thank you. You've been listening to My Business Stars. I'm that blind woman, Julie Woods, and this program has been hosted by the Disability Business Network and sponsored by CCS Disability Action. The Disability Business Network is the only business network in Aotearoa, New Zealand, dedicated to business owners who live with an impairment. If you are disabled, own your own business, and would love to mix with people who look like you, then join us today at the Disability Business Network. You can find us at disabilitybusinessnetwork.org, or you can contact that blind woman, Julie Woods, on 021 913 513, or email julie@thatblindwoman.co.nz. At the Disability Business Network, we believe in disabled people being successful in their own businesses and becoming business stars.
This podcast was produced by OAR FM Dunedin with support from New Zealand On the Air.